Raiden Makoto was the original Electro Archon of Inazuma that secretly co-ruled the nation with whom we know today as Raiden A. As the name suggests, Makoto and A were sisters that won the Archon War together and established their role as Inazuma's Flash and Shadow respectively. Ball was the image the people of Inazuma had for their Archon, the image of Makoto, not aware of A's existence working in the shadows. Makoto was a god not seeking to fight, but to find the light and hope for peace for her people. She would appreciate the present moment, experiencing the transience of happiness and life. The cruelty of life, however, cannot be ignored by blind hope, as violence and wars would still take place over the land. Serving as Makoto's shadow warrior, A was the one to charge into battle and fight for the brighter Inazuma Makoto was hoping for. But this raises questions. As a god who had never touched a blade all her life, how did Makoto take part in and contribute to winning the Archon War? Why was she put in the position of the Electro Archon instead of A, who was capable of facing more than she could? Why did they repeat the same thing by taking part in the Cataclysm, 500 years ago, where Makoto, incapable of fighting, met her ultimate fate? Why did A fail to protect her, and what was it exactly that caused Makoto's death? Ironically to Makoto's ideals, the Muso-Ishin was a blade created by her divine might, a weapon, but not used to fight, rather to become a symbol of the true peace Makoto desired. As she would never fight, the blade was never sharpened, therefore never used. The first time this weapon drew its first tips of crimson was the day of Makoto's passing in her sister's arms and surrounded by calamity, to the nation that lost everything to the heavenly principles. 500 years ago, A faced the reality that Makoto tried to hide beneath their illusion, with the blade marking the ground where they last stood to sign a new era. Life, happiness, peace are transitory. Eternity is the only way. The Muso-Ishin is the blade that was created by and tied to the image of Ball. The day Makoto passed away, A took the sword in her hands, becoming its new owner and now giving it a real use. This sword was only ever wielded by them both, and none other, and was seen stabbing the ground near the twins during Makoto's last moments, according to A's cutscene in the game. We'll learn from it that Makoto was one of the casualties of the calamity 500 years ago. Taking into consideration that gods leave traces behind after the moment of their death, it is what makes me believe that the scene was one of her last moments, and not herself after passing away. Going back to the sword story, as mentioned, the Muso-Ishin was present in the scene and first used the day Makoto passed away. Perhaps she was never caught in one of the disaster's possible crossfires or attacked by the monsters, but this sword is directly connected to her death. Knowing that the blade was only used by Makoto and A, let's consider some possibilities. Following an argument to counter-argument format, the first possibility would be Makoto attempted to either use the sword to fight for the first time, or fight back to an upcoming threat, but failed due to her lack of fighting skills and took the finishing blow. However, having participated in the Archon War, and possibly having witnessed many other battles without fighting herself before, there is probably no reason for her to have had the desire to pick it up now. Succumbing into grief and trauma caused by the disaster around her, Makoto took the sword and stabbed herself to death. However, living for over 2 millennia, Makoto had certainly experienced wars and disasters before, and it is much more likely she didn't find herself amidst the event, but rather went to it aware of what was about to or had happened. A was the one forced to slay Makoto due to her incapability, following Celestia's orders under the heavenly principles. However, the twins peacefully ruled and suffered together, never seeming to have conflicts among each other or with Celestia. A wouldn't have simply cut ties with Celestia and followed the heavenly principles blindly, without rebelling or acting further against them. To entertain the idea of Makoto being slain by her own blade, let's expand on the theory further by adjusting the last argument. The source of the Muso-Ishin's creation was Makoto's divine might. We can assume that this divine might is in fact the Electro-Gnosis. We know that Gnosis are used by Archons to directly resonate with Celestia, and that they are somewhat similar to mortals' visions. Visions are alternatively called eyes of gods, and it could be speculated that they are tools for Celestia to watch over mortals. Drawing an analogy, there could also be a chance of Gnosis being used as tools to control Archons themselves. was a gentle god, yet incapable. Or rather, she was capable enough to win and hold the image of Baal and the statues of Inazuma's Electro Archon. But a god being kind to humanity meant deciding equality between gods and mortals, something Celestia would not be willing to accept. Indirectly taking control of her blade, they had to assassinate Makoto as punishment, swiftly and silently, without a trace. The blood dropped from the blade onto the ground was divine, fading, and slowly taking a new form that would forever carry her ideal, forever be present, transient. But transience is temporary. A flash shines brightest but only briefly, and is quick to go. Eternity is nearest unto heaven, transience the furthest, defined, and not left unpunished.